Bring back in Scott Anderson, who is the Director of UNRWA Affairs in Gaza and also Deputy Humanitarian Coordinator. He is joining us from Gaza. So Scott, we tried to speak before the break. We were having trouble. Obviously, we completely understand that getting a stable internet connection in Gaza is, of course, not always easy. But I was asking you about the fact that a lot of the safe zones that people are told to evacuate to in Gaza are full. And we've talked a lot in this program about the fact that there really aren't any safe places in Gaza right now, especially now that some of the safe zones are full. Just walk us through what is happening on the ground.
Speak with you, very much appreciated. And what we're seeing is continued evacuation notices for people. There were more evacuation orders that were given today that had over tens of thousands of people on the move, and there's just really no space left for them to move to. At this point, I think there's 11% of Gaza that's not under some form of evacuation order. And in the Mawasi area, which is not far from where I'm speaking to you, we think that there's 30 to 34,000 people per square kilometer. It's incredibly densely populated. It's very difficult for people to move around. It's difficult for people to find space. And this is, the climate is hot. It's summer here. There's no way for people to get cool. And what we're seeing is continued kinetic activity that's, very sadly resulting in the death of people across various parts of Gaza.
Scott, you bring a unique perspective to this role, having served in the U.S. military for 21 years, stationed around the world, including in Afghanistan. This is, I believe, the fourth conflict between Israel and Gaza that you've witnessed. By far, you say this is the worst. Can you just explain to us what exactly you're seeing there that would characterize this situation as the worst that you've seen in your career? Is it because how small, how dense the space is, the area, the lack of resources, as you've just explained, for those civilians trying to flee to go to?
I think it's a little bit of all that. And this, unfortunately for people in the region, this is the fourth time that I've been here. The first time was in 2009. And when I was here in 2014 during the conflict, we had just under 300,000 people displaced, which we never thought it could be worse than that. Our schools at that point were bursting. But now the current scenario that started after the horrific events of October 7th, now we have basically all of Gaza displaced. So it's 2 million people. We haven't been able to get aid in at the scale needed. Everybody is not getting their basic necessities met every day. We think for August, we're going to underserve a million people aren't going to get enough food that they should get in August. That's half the population. The hospital network does not function. So it's really as bad as I've seen anywhere in the world. And then, lastly, on top of that, there's hostages from Israel that are kept here in Gaza. So it's completely an unknown scenario. When you drive around Gaza, it looks very much like a science fiction movie set. And when you talk to people in Gaza, the one thing they ask for is a ceasefire, first and foremost, because they want this to stop. But then they always ask, where can I go that it's safe for my family? And the sad answer is nowhere. There's nowhere that's safe for them, for their children right now in Gaza.
Yeah, and the fact that most, if not all, of Gaza's population has been displaced, not just once, but multiple times over the past 10 months. I mean, you can't even get tents for people. Just in terms of healthcare, I think a lot of people are concerned about the prospect of infectious diseases. I mean, obviously, just access to safe, clean water. The water supply is inadequate. There's virtually no sanitation. There's fear about an outbreak. Some people are talking about polio, among others. Just talk to us about the state of healthcare and sanitation on the ground.
I mean, it's really quite awful. The state of sanitation in particular is, as I move around Gaza, you see piles of garbage everywhere. There's streets that have sewage just flowing down them. And it's just not something that we can fix, unfortunately. There's not enough places to take the garbage. And it's very disheartening when you see children looking through garbage, trying to find something they can sell or something they can eat. And that just exacerbates what's a very fragile health environment for people. You mentioned polio, which is correct. Polio has been detected here. We're in the process now of planning to do immunizations for all children under 10 in Gaza. That's over 600,000 children that need to be immunized. They need 2 rounds for this to be effective, and we have to reach 90% of the population. And normally when you do polio campaigns, you go door to door and you make sure you have good coverage. You do everybody all at once. But given the complex environment that we're working in, we're not going to be able to go door to door. So we're trying to figure out how to do that and how to make sure we get all the children protected from this horrible disease. But in addition to polio, unfortunately, we've seen hepatitis A, including some of the international aid workers that are here, certainly watery diarrhea, upper respiratory disease, and skin disease. Because there's not enough cleaning supplies in Gaza. Just soap is a very basic thing that we all take for granted that people unfortunately don't have access to right now. And that could help prevent a lot of things, including the skin disease, including some of these other diseases that are inside the community. I mean, we're all taught you wash your hands multiple times a day, and that's the safest way to keep yourself healthy. So the hospital networks aren't functioning at the level you would expect. They don't have a lot of equipment. There's not one MRI machine left in Gaza that functions at this moment. And after Rafah closed in early May, when the operation started there, we basically stopped doing medevacs. So it's a very difficult environment medically for people. It's a very unsafe environment. And as I said earlier, we unfortunately continue to see attacks that takes the lives of people who are really just trying to find safety for themselves and for their families.
And there really is a lack of civil authority there as well. Obviously, this is an enclave that was run by Hamas. And now, Scott, as you describe what is an unprecedented situation, you have people suffering, their children going through garbage, looking for something that they can sell or even eat, concerns about diseases and water supply. And then you mentioned the hostages that are being held there as well. When you hear reports that once again it looks like these ceasefire hostage deal talks are at yet another impasse, I'm just wondering, what is your message to all of those actors involved here, both parties and all of those trying to facilitate a deal?
I would say that every day that a deal is not made, it impacts people here on the ground. It impacts families, mothers, fathers, children. It keeps the hostages from going home to their families. It's been well over 10 months now. It's time for this to end. It's time for the hostages to go home. It's time for people in Gaza to finally have peace and begin rebuilding their lives. There's been enough violence, enough bloodshed. It's time to find common ground for a ceasefire so we all can hopefully move forward and begin rebuilding Gaza, which is going to take a very long time.
Right, Scott Anderson, live for us there. Thank you so much. We'll be right back with more.